Hello everyone, I'm Shirley. In today's video I'll be diving into the different structures of the heart and how they work together to keep us alive. We have 4 different chambers in our heart. So we have a right atrium, right below that we have a right ventricle, the other side we have a left atrium, below that we have a left ventricle. How you can remember which is the right from left from looking at the anterior perspective, the right ventricle is actually going to look bigger than the left. Next thing we're going to look at are the valves. So valves are like its tiny doors that prevent backflowing of the blood. On the right side we have the tricuspid. How you can remember that is 1, 2, 3. So we have our tricuspid valve. The left side we have our bicuspid, 1, 2, bicuspid. The valves that we have are the pulmonary and the aorta. I want to explain why these are called that. Blue structure here is our pulmonary trunk. Right ventricle blood is going to go through the pulmonary valve. Follow this right here. This structure, it goes this way and it goes right into our aorta. So this is our aorta. And then this arch is the aortic arch. This valve right here is the aortic valve. Okay. It is very important for us to know what the veins and the artery do. Veins carry blood towards the heart and arteries carry blood away. So this is the superior vena cava. This is a vein because it's carrying blood towards the heart. Moving down, we have the inferior vena cava. And this is also carrying blood towards the heart. Both of these veins are carrying the blood into the right atrium. So you can see these 2 holes right here. This is coming from the inferior vena cava, and this hole is bringing the blood from the superior vena cava into our right atrium. We'll get further into that later. So our superior vena cava and our inferior vena cava are very large veins that carry deoxygenated blood. So our blood isn't blue, guys. It's just showing the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So they're carrying deoxygenated blood into the heart, into the right atrium. So if you're not familiar with superior and inferior, superior basically means it's going to bring blood from the top of the body. So the head, the neck, the arm, the chest. Inferior means below. And that's going to bring blood from the organs of the abdomen, the legs, feet, etc. So something that had me confused for a while was looking at the color and associating them with artery and vein. That can really mess you up in the heart labeling, because these are actually veins. These red tubes, they're pulmonary veins, and these are coming from the lungs. They're bringing oxygenated blood towards the heart. Their lungs, and they're bringing oxygenated blood towards, which is why it is red. But that doesn't mean it's an artery, because remember, veins bring blood towards the heart, arteries bring blood away. Now we're going to go into the arteries of the heart. So this big vessel right here is our aorta. Remember, we talked about it a little bit when we were talking about the aortic valve. So our aorta is our main vessel that brings oxygenated blood away from the heart. Therefore, it is an artery. Arteries bring blood away from the heart. And we have this blue tube right here, actually an artery. It's our pulmonary artery. It brings deoxygenated blood away from the heart. So let me draw a diagram here to give a little representation. So the arteries bring the deoxygenated blood into the lungs, where it does its function, and then it sends the oxygenated blood back into the heart through the pulmonary vein. So now that we have gone through the basic structures of the heart, it's time for us to actually see what's happening. So we have the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava that is going to send deoxygenated blood into the right atrium. And then when that blood is in the right atrium, it's going to contract and it's going to push through the tricuspid valve. As soon as the blood passes through the tricuspid valve, those valves are going to close to prevent any backflow into the right atrium. So from there, it's going to go into the right ventricle, and then contraction is going to happen again. That's going to push it through the pulmonary valve. It's going to go into the pulmonary trunk, and it's going to go through the pulmonary artery. member artery brings blood away. In this case, it's bringing deoxygenated blood away from the heart into the lungs. So we have our lungs that do its business, and then let me change the color so you can keep up with the flow that we're doing here. So it's going to send oxygenated blood into the pulmonary vein of the heart, right? Veins towards. That oxygenated blood is going to go into our left atrium, and then the contraction of the left atrium is going to cause it to push through the bicuspid valve. As soon as the blood goes through the bicuspid valve, it's going to close to prevent any backflow. It's a one-way trip, no two-way. And then after it passes through that valve, it's going to go into the left ventricle. The left ventricle is going to contract, and then it's going to push that blood into the aortic valve, travel into our aorta, right? So the closing of the aortic valve prevent any backflow into the left ventricle. The blood is going to travel up to the aorta, where it's going to send out to the different parts of the body. I want to introduce you to these three arteries up top of the aorta. So we have our brachiocephalic artery. This is basically these two combined in one. This only goes to the right side. And then for our left side, we have our left subclavian artery. We have our left common cardioid artery. So basically, this brachiocephalic artery is going to look something like this. It's going to branch off into these same two arteries, but for the right side. So this one that is going to come over and down is going to be our right subclavian artery. Here is going to be our right common cardioid artery. Heart is an automatic involuntary organ of a synovial node, which is basically your pacemaker, and it tells everything else what to do, the muscles to relax, to contract. We have to do as humans is to help build our heart. We can do this through exercise and eating right. So what's the function of the heart? It basically sends oxygenated blood towards various parts of the body along with nutrients, and then it carries away unwanted carbon dioxide and waste products from those organs. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something, and I hope everything was simple enough for you to understand.